In Orlando, the choices made at City Hall reach far beyond government buildings. They affect where families live, how safe communities feel, and whether people can stay stable when life gets hard. At the Legal Aid Society, we see the impact of those choices every day, especially when it comes to housing, safety, and access to basic resources. When policy works, families stay housed and communities thrive. When it doesn't, legal aid often becomes the last line of support. Today on The Domino Effect, we're joined by Orlando City Commissioner Roger Chapin, District 3, to talk about how local government shapes quality of life here in Orlando. This is The Domino Effect, where community issues meet the systems that shape them. I'm your host, Charlene Stanford Green. Orlando City Commission plays a major role in shaping housing, safety, and quality of life across our community. Joining us now is Orlando City Commissioner for District 3, Roger Chapin, to talk about how City Hall decisions impact the people of Orlando. Commissioner Chapin, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today with us, and congratulations on your new role.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I want you to explain to viewers what it means to be a commissioner, and for those that don't follow the government closely, what does your role entail?
Yeah, so I've been a commissioner now for 8 days. So
Good job.
I'm still, hitting the ground running and still, finding some of this out. But in short, the City of Orlando is a strong mayoral form of government. So the mayor, and in this case, Mayor Buddy Dyer, sets the agenda, hires and fires all of the major department heads. That's transportation, that's housing, that's the city attorney, that's the head of economic development. Hires the police chief. The city commissioners, there are 6 districts, right? So there's the city commissioners really try to represent their district and be the representative for their people. So if there's some complaints or if there's a big project in the district, that's when the district commissioners get involved kind of more heavily in the operations of the city.
Okay.
And then of course, as a member of the city council, you are one of 7 votes. So then on some of the larger issues, whether it's an economic development issue or something like that, you're obviously one of 7 votes to have an impact on that type of voting. But you're primarily there to represent your district and the constituents that live in your district on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, and you represent District 3.
Yeah. So
can you tell us what area that covers?
Yeah, so District 3, if you think about the city of Orlando, is really everything north of Colonial Drive or Highway 50.
Okay.
That's really the northernmost part of the city. So if you think from east to west, north of Highway 50 or Colonial Drive, that's Baldwin Park, that's Audubon Park, that's Rose Isle, Beverly Shores, Rowena, Park Lake, College Park,
okay,
and then up to Rosemont, which extends a little bit to the northwest. And then around us, we have unincorporated Orange County, we have the city of Winter Park, etc. But so we're the kind of the northernmost boundary of the city of Orlando.
Wow, that's a large part.
They're all equal population-wise, but sometimes geography-wise. But it's a great district with some great neighborhoods.
That's amazing, yeah. And you're learning your role, but I'm sure you're going to do great and
Thank
continue.
You. Thank you.
Having a heart of service is half the battle, so you're already there. Yeah. Let's talk about city finances and what that looks like. Specifically, when you look at Orlando's needs and the biggest needs and pressures of the city right now, what do you think that is?
Yeah, I mean, so you can look at it 2 ways. You can say, what are the biggest pressures? And when you look at the budget, the biggest pressures, meaning the things that cost the most money is public safety, right? Police and fire. And so that is obviously a basic part of government. If you look at the biggest needs, that might shift a little bit, right? And that then gets down into the district. And there are, you could have stormwater needs, you could have repavement needs, you could have economic development needs, but like some of these needs, like stormwater, for example, or some flooding areas, I mean, those are big infrastructure things that require, a long forecast in terms of budgeting and resources that you have to partner with the state or the federal government on. But the biggest part of the budget is public safety. I think some of the biggest needs, because I think we are doing a very good job in public safety. I think some of the needs then really go to everyday things like transit, like walkability,
Public transportation.
right. And just creating safe place for our neighborhoods, and we have some infrastructure needs that are from, we have so many older neighborhoods that have aging infrastructure, so
Right.
those are kind of a constant thing.
Yeah. That's continuous, I'm sure.
Yeah.
With regard to just fiscal responsibility, how do you invest that within our community, primarily, like you said, with the infrastructure? So are you targeting some of those older neighborhoods, and then what services are you providing for those folks?
Well, so again, if you look at District 3, Baldwin Park and the Packing District are a lot different than College Park. So the newer the development, or the newer the redevelopment, you have existing new sidewalks, wider sidewalks, buried power lines. You have retention and detention for water that's already planned. Some of the older neighborhoods, like College Park or Audubon Park, have some greater needs because the sidewalks are older,
Right.
The power lines are overhead, some of the roads may need resurfacing. We have a lot of brick roads in District 3, so they might get out of kilter a little
Right.
bit. So it's a balance infrastructure wise to balance the needs of those neighborhoods.
Yeah, and that's so important though, because you want to make sure to address all of the needs of your specific district, which can be challenging, but at the forefront, do you have like top 3 priorities or goals in mind when looking at how to address that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in District 3, we have some wonderful Main Street programs. We have Edgewater Drive, we have Ivanhoe, we have Corinne Drive. I think that provides a lot of opportunity
Right.
for area, for neighborhoods, on walkability, on access to transit. So I think that focusing on the 3 main streets, then you can kind of build out from there when it comes to walkability, when it comes to safety, when it comes to access to transit, when it comes to access to Sunrail. We have a Sunrail stop
Right.
in District 3.
Sunrail is really popular.
At Advent, Sunrail's is popular.
Right.
Expanding links, those are all things that require partnerships and forward planning and things like that I think the city can play a role in for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about quality of life. How do you personally define that here for Orlando residents, and how does that decision and that personal, let's talk about quality of life. How do you personally define that for the citizens of Orlando, and how is it that you approach policy decisions with that in mind?
Yeah, I mean, quality of life starts with safety, right? With public safety. So that's like the most basic form of government. And then from there, if you feel safe,
Right.
then you feel like you can, and then you feel like you can get out in your neighborhoods. You want to be able to go to clean, safe parks. You want to be able to walk, ideally to
local
shop,
neighborhood or
to get a cup of coffee,
Right,
to
right.
have lunch. So we got safety, we got clean parks, we got walkability. You want to have access to transit. You want to be able to get from point A to point B, whether you're driving yourself or whether you're relying on public transit. And that feeling of being able to leave your home and get from point A to point B safely, and enjoy that experience, I think is a big part of quality of life in the city of Orlando and District 3.
Absolutely. And I know you have a lot of background in government as well as business. So how has that experience lent to your current role?
Yeah, so I was a civic volunteer for decades. I served on the municipal planning board early in my life, where I learned a lot of things we'll probably get into later in the interview about planning, about smart growth, about access to transit. After that, I was on the Downtown Development Board, where we focused on the needs of downtown Orlando, so economic development, transit, trying to get people to come live downtown.
Live, work, and play.
Live, work, and play. And then my last board assignment before being elected to City Council was on the Orlando Utilities Commission, where the priorities were reliability, affordability, sustainability. And so you have to find, again, in government, you're always balancing the needs of all people.
Right.
Right. Some people might place a greater emphasis on affordability, and some people may place a greater emphasis on sustainability.
Correct.
And anything in government, public safety, walkability, transit, parks, clean water, infrastructure, economic development. It's not a pick one.
Right.
You have to do them all.
All of them.
Because all of your constituents all have an equal voice, and they all are all different in their desires and what they're interested in. So it's important to find a balance and always keep in mind that not everybody thinks the same way, and not everybody thinks the way you do, for sure. So you have to represent your constituents.
And representing everyone. So
Correct.
We're going to chat more. I'm so excited for that conversation.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and be right back after a quick word from the sponsors who support the Domino Effect and the word of the Legal Aid Society. Stay tuned.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Welcome back. We're continuing our conversation with Orlando City Commissioner Roger Chapin about housing stability and what it really means to serve District 3. Now, Commissioner Chapin, housing instability often brings numerous challenges for families. We see it all the time here at the Legal Aid Society. How can the City of Orlando work alongside organizations like Legal Aid to really help prevent displacement and keep residents stably housed?
So the city's housing department works really hand in hand with several not-for-profit organizations in the city, and I think that's important because it's those organizations, whether you're talking about Coalition for the Homeless,
right,
the Christian Service Center, Harbor House, those types of organizations who are the experts in helping solve those critical problems. And the city oftentimes will work with those organizations to keep people in their homes, right? To avoid a foreclosure or a rent eviction.
Correct.
To partner with those not-for-profits to offer monetary support to fix a roof. I mean, it used to be where they might help you with a kitchen or a bathroom or an ADA accessible. They tell me now it's almost all exclusively roofs now, right? Because if you have a leaky roof, you can't get insurance, and if you own a home, you have to have insurance.
You have to have insurance, right?
And so almost all of that money in terms of working with some of those organizations is related to keeping people in their homes to fix a roof.
Right.
So housing is definitely a priority in the city of Orlando. Housing is different, again, throughout the city. In District 3, we're dealing primarily with infill housing as opposed to new housing or growth in terms of geography.
Okay. Can you explain that to our viewers, what you mean by that, infill?
Yeah, so infill means you've already got the infrastructure in place, right? You've got sewer, you've got utilities, you've got parking, and now it's likely it's a redevelopment. So if you think about an older building that now has made way for an apartment complex,
right?
In the urban core, that's infill. Traditional growth, as some people think about it, growing out, that they talk a lot about in terms of in Orange County and the rural boundary and annexation. That's growth that people are getting more frustrated with traffic and growth and stress on infrastructure and stress on public safety and stress on budgets. So in the city of Orlando, except for District 1, which is out near Lake Nona, most of the growth is infill.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
that
welcome.
really is helpful.
Yeah.
What about nonprofits that focus on the prevention of solving problems before they become crises. So
Yeah.
how can the city have that same preventative mindset when allocating resources and shaping policy for our residents?
Yeah, so when I think of the city of Orlando in terms of planning, it might not be as much, I might not have as much knowledge as it relates to not-for-profits, but I think about the city's role in literal planning,
Right.
meaning growth management. That's what we see a lot of. So the growth of the city as it relates to planning, what I mentioned, infill housing,
Right.
incentives or zoning that relates to people being, maybe their proximity to transit, maybe how they plan parking garages, maybe how they plan spaces to encourage people to walk to work, to walk to transit. When you're building a new home or making sure the sidewalks are there, making sure the connectivity is there, making sure that you have resources like parks that can be comparable for everybody to have access to. I do think the city of Orlando does a great job when it comes to planning, which then goes into lifestyle for city residents. So I think that the planning and zoning is really kind of the blocking and tackling of city government.
Right.
When it comes to thinking ahead of how people may act and interact with their communities.
Right. And when you touched on also the safety and sustainability and accountability. And so I know for a lot of neighborhoods now you're seeing where, hey, the packing district, for example,
Right.
there's a Publix there and
Right.
then there's restaurants nearby. So you can really park and walk. And if you want to, then you hop over and you're in College Park and you're right there, off of Edgewater. So how does that make a difference then when people are choosing where to live?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned some great qualities of the packing district, and then you also add to that that was obviously a private development, but then you add the public interaction with that. You have a YMCA there, you have the Orlando Tennis Center there. Right. So again, that's not for profit, and that's government. So that's really a public-private partnership, which again, if you live in the packing district, you have access to all those things, and then you're quickly transitioning to College Park, and if you could get on the urban trail or ride Sunrail, you can be downtown at the Performing Arts Center.
Without having to drive.
Without having to drive. Within
and worry about parking.
That's right. Within minutes, right? Or you could walk to Ivanhoe Road to a main street and have access to all different kind of businesses and restaurant opportunities. So it really is. I mean, I think Orlando does a really good job at these. We have these great neighborhood jewels, and you can quickly get out of them and be in a different one, and then also downtown, whether it's the Performing Arts Center or going to Creative Village, we're pretty compact when it comes to that lifestyle of livability, walkability, etc.
But having the convenience is key.
Having the convenience is key, and yes, agreed.
Success isn't always measured in dollars saved.
Right.
What indicators do you think best reflect whether the city is truly Success isn't always measured in dollars saved. What indicators do you think really best reflect whether the city is improving the residents' lives here in Orlando?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just continue on. Again, I think if you get more people out of their cars, right, if more people are walking, if our parks are being utilized, if our Main Street districts, again, in my district, that's Edgewater Drive, Ivanhoe, Mills 50, Corinne Drive, if you're seeing new businesses come in, if you're seeing, people walking up and down Virginia Drive from one end to the other, you're seeing responsible infill development where you can live, you can walk easily to transit, you can get on Sunrail and be downtown and maybe to the airport someday. That connectivity, right, which I think is a good indicator of quality of life and if Orlando is improving itself as a city.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, specifically for areas like College Park that are right there off of Edgewater, and some of those places, buildings have been there a long time, but just passing through, there's a lot of new development over there, even with high rises and some new restaurants opening up.
Right.
Have you had a role or influence in making that happen behind the scenes?
Not so much yet.
But you will.
I will. It won't be behind the scenes. It'll be up and
Front and center.
out and open. But again, like on Ivanhoe, you see the yard it was a big project, and now they are expanding. That's a perfect example of infill housing. Change is hard for people, especially if you've been here a long time and you just don't like change. But we see that change where there's a resistance to slowing down traffic on Ivanhoe or Edgewater. There's a resistance to a high-rise apartment complex or mixed-use complex. And then when it's done,
guess what?
We all go there to eat and shop and,
Right.
and walk and enjoy, walking in our Main Street district. So it's where we're going as an urban city in terms of how we're
trend.
The trend and it's really the way it should be. I mean, cities should be urban, infill, high activity, people living close together, relying on services to get around.
Right.
And then if that's not your cup of tea, you can move out. You can move out to more of into the county or more of a rural or a subdivision or things like that. But in terms of an urban core, the city is doing infill housing and having services that go along with that for quality of life.
And that's what it's all about, is that quality of life is so important. Absolutely. So we're going to speak a little bit more, so you stay right here with us, and we're going to take another quick break to thank all of our sponsors. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Domino Effect. As we wrap up our conversation with Orlando City Commissioner Roger Chapin, we're looking ahead at how Orlando can become more stable and more inclusive. Now, Commissioner, Orlando has vulnerable residents, including those with physical disabilities, experiencing poverty, and also housing insecurity. How do you plan to ensure those voices are heard and reflected in the city decision making?
Yeah. It's very important to make sure all voices are heard. I have a personal experience with a child with disabilities. I had a daughter who passed away at the age of 15 who was confined to a wheelchair in the last several years of her life. Thank you. So I know what it's like to be on a sidewalk that doesn't have a ramp. I know what it's like to, have a sidewalk that you have power lines in the middle of. I know what it's like to look for parking spots that are close to where you're going.
Right.
So I think it's very important to always keep those voices in mind.
Absolutely.
So I definitely have a personal experience to that. I think I will give an outsized ear and voice on those issues.
Yeah, especially because you can relate to that in terms of what, your daughter experienced and what Blair was going through, not only for herself, but you as a family unit and your community of support as well. So.
And so again, I get back to some of the things the city does in terms of planning and growth, right? I mentioned some of the good things that come along with redevelopment.
Right.
That also goes, right? I mean, there's a lot of old stores and old neighborhoods and old sidewalks that, just like they weren't up to current standards on stormwater, they're not up to current standards on ADA, for example. So not all redevelopment and new development is bad, especially if it's infill and done in the right manner, but with that comes accessibility. With that comes set-asides for affordable housing. With that comes unique partnerships, for people in vulnerable situations.
Yeah, and those that are going through that as well. And that's so critical and so important. And speaking, because of your personal experience, it probably fuels your mission even more in the work that you're doing.
It does,
so we appreciate that. We are so fortunate to live in a vibrant and growing community here in Orlando, the City Beautiful. What does effective collaboration with the City of Orlando look like to you?
Yeah, so collaboration is key, and Mayor Dyer, when I was seeking his counsel during this, campaign, he said collaboration is probably the biggest thing he's most proud of in terms of running a city and being in city government. So I think collaboration has many different levels. I mean, collaboration on a basic level is collaborating with our businesses, with our not-for-profits, with our neighbors. Then you move up and you're collaborating with other city commissioners and the city council, and collaborating with other governments, Orange County, right? We need to collaborate with Orange County to manage growth. So one of the outstanding measures that's still out there is this joint planning agreement. They call it the JPA.
Okay.
And really that becomes a boundary around in the county where you decide the difference between urban growth and more suburban growth. So we need to collaborate with Orange County to get a new joint planning agreement in place so we can stop having arguments about what growth goes where. We will collaborate in advance to decide what growth goes where.
Right.
And then, of course, you want to collaborate on the state level, right? Because a lot of funding, even state and federal, so which is getting harder to do in kind of some of the heated political rhetoric we're seeing all across the country. But in terms of city government, I'm focused on kind of the blocking and tackling of getting things done. So I would start with collaboration locally, on the state, and on the federal level, because I want to get things done and not focus on what divides us, but focus on what unites us. And that's real collaboration in terms of getting things done to tackle some of those big issues like transit, like stormwater, fixing some of our stormwater issues. I mean, those require multi-governmental participation and a lot of money.
Yeah, and when you talk about the collaboration too, you have to keep in mind cultivating those relationships and making sure you're looking at all of the different sides and, what factors come into play when looking at how you decide how that money is allocated?
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, the city of Orlando is I mean, the mayor sets the tone, the mayor sets the budget, right? So and city staff, we've got an amazing, professional, dedicated city staff. A lot of these things in the budget this year were planned out 2-3 years ago already. So there's a lot of planning that goes in place. I think all of the districts get an equal shot at dollars to improve their districts. But again, collaboration is key, and for a city commissioner, you want to collaborate with the mayor because you want to bring the attention to issues in your district. You also want to collaborate with other city commissioners, and again, you want to collaborate with your county commissioner. I mean, the county commissioner is part of your district as well, and your state legislator and your member of Congress. So that type of collaboration in fixing things in the district or bringing resources to bear to fix things are important. Yeah,
absolutely. And folks want to make sure that you're not just talking about it, you're doing something about it. Execution is key, but it goes back to those relationships and collaboration, like you said. Now, if at the end of your term, the residents of Orlando say it is a more stable, more inclusive, and more compassionate city because of you, what do you hope will have changed, and how will those partnerships like those with nonprofits really help others get us to where we need to be?
Yeah, if they say those things have changed because of me, it would be a very high compliment. We live in a stable, compassionate, inclusive city, right? You know that. I mean, we are the city of Orlando. You can always improve, but we live in a great city.
Absolutely.
I think, again, going back to shared experiences, making sure that all of our neighbors are taken care of, making sure that everybody has access to transit, good sidewalks, safe streets, clean parks, those types of things. Trying to collaborate with some of our friends at the state level,
Right.
Making sure that they don't take away too much power in terms of how we want to govern ourselves
Right.
locally, whether it comes to planning and social services and things like that. Obviously, growth of our not-for-profits. If they're successful, we're successful. Orlando is so stable, so inclusive that it's hard to imagine it could be more so. But I think if the more people that get out and about and walk to places and interact with their neighbors and interact with their businesses and interact with their main streets and interact with those less fortunate in the not-for-profits, I think that's kind of how you would measure
Success.
where you go on that scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what personally fuels you for continuing your mission and doing what you do?
A lot of things. My experience with my daughter, who's no longer with us. I've got another daughter who's 22 years old. Wanting her to come back home someday to live in Orlando.
Right.
Being born and raised here in Orlando and seeing how much has changed, and not thinking about it in a way that's, gosh, it sure has changed a lot, but wow, it sure is changing a lot.
Right, that perspective.
That kind of. I come from a business background, so economic development, I lean into the Main Street districts. I am a problem solver. So, when we get a lot of inquiries or emails or this sidewalks need to be fixed, that type of thing, like that kind of fuels me because I like to get things done. So I think that's what gets me up in the morning, thinking about how can we improve things that I see every day. How can we improve our main streets? How can we improve our transit? How can we improve people's lives in Orlando?
Right, and you being a part of that too.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to get a hold of your office, what's the best way they can do that or to reach you?
Yeah, so you can always call City Hall. I think emails are far more effective. So that's roger.chapin@orlando.gov. I have two aides in my office, Chris Durant and Lauren Rue, who are also there to help.
Awesome.
The City of Orlando website has a lot of resources, but you can contact our office, especially if it's a District 3 item, and we can help point you in the right direction, help get you answers. That's the main thing, is getting people an answer. I find people don't mind getting an answer they don't want. It's not getting an answer.
At all.
At all.
Right. Yeah.
Right? They can take that this is not going to happen this year, or this is priority number 20 out of, but they don't like not getting any answers.
Right.
So that's what we're here to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're well on your way to doing amazing work with everything you've done so far. So thank you so much for taking the time to sit here and speak with us.
Yeah.
I've learned so much. I know our
big fan
viewers
of Legal Aid Society.
Oh.
Big fan of Orange TV. Big shout out to Orange TV. Has been here for decades.
Many years. Yeah.
Many years. I remember when it was on Channel 9 as a younger person. So
well,
long time fan.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you
you
for taking the time to sit with us here today.
You got it.
We are so grateful to Commissioner Chapin for joining us today, and a special thank you to you for watching. I'm Charlene Stanford Green, and this is The Domino Effect. Till next time.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
For over 60 years, the Legal Aid Society has provided legal representation to clients on issues like those discussed in today's episode. Our mission is to ensure that every member of our community has access to high-quality legal support and justice. If you're facing a legal issue, don't hesitate to reach out to the Legal Aid Society of the Orange County Bar Association. Just call 407-841-8310. As a nonprofit law firm, we rely on dedicated volunteers and generous donations to continue our work. To learn how you can get involved, visit legalaidocba.org. Thank you for watching The Domino Effect. And remember, perpetual goodness goes a long way. Until next time.